At last the king who has united the 8 nations has finally ascended to the supreme, the throne of the souls. A window panel appeared and congratulated Bai, stating that he was the first king to sit on the throne of the souls. The panel also informed Bai that his reward had been distributed. He could only use it under specific circumstances. In the shattered pieces of glass, Bai was seen becoming excited as he finally won the game. Audience was able to watch Bai live stream. They congratulated Bai on his achievement. They wondered if Bai was the first player who was able to clear the game. Then young Master Woksane joined the live stream. In a sudden turn of events, Woksane, through the shattered glass, stabbed a sword into Bai's stomach in his real world. Bai struggled to comprehend the sudden attack and its implications. Woksane expressed that Bai could not aspire to be a king because he was nothing but an ant. Woksane told Bai that his sin was unforgivable and therefore Bai had to perish. In the real world, Bai was badly injured and taken to the hospital. A doctor reported that Bai, a 20-year-old male, was bleeding heavily. The doctor also instructed the nurses to administer first aid to Bai immediately. The doctor was informed that Bai's heart rate had dropped to 0, so he instructed CPR to be performed on Bai. Continuously, electric shocks were administered by the doctor in an effort to save Bai. Bai finally regained consciousness. He was on a pile of corpses, unable to comprehend what was happening. Bai vaguely recalled being stabbed, but he couldn't understand what was happening or where he was. Then Bai found himself on piles of corpses, wondering if he was in hell. Bai questioned why he was in hell when he had never done anything bad in his previous life. However, he couldn't even remember who he was. Whenever he tried to recall his past, his head hurt terribly, as if it were being ripped apart. Then, Bai suddenly remembered that he had been a 20-year-old game streamer named Bai Chi. He hadn't been popular initially, but his fanbase had grown rapidly due to a recent live stream of a game. The open-world action RPG game, The Throne of the Souls. The game is set in a medieval Western fantasy world. Its story, a sudden crash of an advanced alien ship. It merges an ancient civilization with future technology. It's highly praised by the players for its unique world settings and top-notch storyline and visuals. But the high difficulty of the game has also discouraged many of the players who wanted to experience it. Many have flocked to live streams instead. They watch the host's acts of self-torture and suffering while playing. Bai also enjoyed the huge traffic it brought. His skillful runs gave the audience a thrilling gaming experience. But while Bai was slowly rising up to the peak, he was suddenly mysteriously killed. Then a window panel appeared. A voice told Bai that he had died, but was still alive. More exactly, he had been reborn. The voice then asked Bai if he had recovered from the negative effects of his rebirth. Upon hearing the voice, Bai recognized it as the voice assistant of the Game Plus World game platform. The voice assistant explained that, from a high-dimensional view, every game ever made was its own independent world. The voice assistant also told Bai that his death triggered a special reward, the Key of Rebirth. It had brought him back to the world of the Throne of Souls. Bai was shocked to discover that he had been reborn into the world of Throne of Souls. It turned out that the special reward was rebirth. Despite dying under mysterious conditions, Bai still had a chance to be reborn. But even in that deadly situation, Bai pointed to a love game, Summer Heartbeat Memory poster. Then he asked the voice assistant why he couldn't be reborn in a world full of beautiful ladies and welfare. He wanted a world like that love game. Bai felt frustrated, questioning why he should be reborn into a hellish world like the Throne of Soul. For Bai, it seemed better to simply die already, at least sparing himself from suffering. The voice assistant mentioned that the Key of Rebirth was a special reward for the Throne of Souls. It was a chance not available in other games. But, for Bai, this felt more like a misfortune than an opportunity. Bai reflected on his past gaming experiences. He understood that games like that rarely offered benefits. With this in mind, Bai asked about the true purpose of the Key of Rebirth. Bai also asked the voice assistant about its intentions. The voice assistant replied. It said it was simple. Bai just needed to do his best to sit on the Throne of Souls again. The voice assistant also explained that this time, by becoming king, Bai would get a better reward. It's the key of time travel. This reward would let Bai time travel using the Game Plus World platform. It would also let Bai choose to return to his original world. Upon learning about the time travel reward, Bai asked the voice assistant why he hadn't been given it from the start. Bai mentioned that, despite his interest in the reward, he couldn't accept it. He explained that, according to the Rebirth protocol, the game had no infinite rebirth. In the hellishly difficult world of Throne of Souls, even a simple dog on the streets could kill him. The voice assistant told Bai that there was no infinite rebirth. But it proved that Bai wasn't completely stupid. On the Game Plus World platform, under Bai's account, he had 100 different runs. He completed all of them. These runs allowed Bai to complete many tasks at different levels. They let him inherit their abilities and equipment. Bai was surprised to learn this and found it interesting, as he could now feel a sense of companionship. Bai pondered. He liked all types of games. He didn't specialize in his live streams just because the game type was popular. Bai explained that these 100 games covered almost all types. They ranged from popular AAA masterpieces to niche, independently produced ones. They even included word games without visuals. Bai added that he got excited. He was just thinking about using the abilities and equipment of these characters. They would be used in the world of Throne of Souls. The voice assistant mentioned that Bai could choose to be a civilian with no power, and the final choice was Bai's. Bai thought that being a civilian seemed safe. It would keep him away from the most dangerous boss. However, he also realized that civilians faced fatal dangers. These included disasters and famine, making it not much better. Bai understood that the system was playing with him. It offered the civilian option only to make him more determined to follow the king. Bai told the system his decision. He said he had spent 20 years in his past life as a normal civilian. Now, as a reborn person, he couldn't do the same again. As a final question, Bai asked if there were time limits or penalties for becoming a king. The voice assistant replied that there were no time limits or penalties. Then the voice assistant asked if Bai was sure about his choice to become a king. Bai confidently affirmed his decision. The voice assistant then told Bai that the contract had been signed. It expressed hope that Bai would soon ascend the Throne of Souls again. Suddenly, someone started calling Bai. When Bai looked up, he saw a trembling figure hanging upside down. The person informed Bai that he was the one hanging upside down and talking. The person, named Gray, was at level 21 and served as the princess's guardian elf mage. Gray asked Bai if he hadn't died a few days earlier, wondering why he was alive again instead of starting to stink. Gray questioned if Bai had been reborn, but he quickly dismissed it. He emphasized the need to find a way out of the cave before the beasts returned. He insisted that they leave the walking cave together. In the scene, there were several other figures hanging upside down, like Gray. One of them, named House, was a level 22 human warrior serving as the princess's guard. House asked Gray if he was kidding. House questioned how Gray, as Princess Mina's guard, could expect a timid boy to rescue them. House pointed out that Bai had been visibly scared when he had cried for his parents a few days earlier. House cursed their situation. House blamed the traitors for framing them. He lamented how they had ended up in their predicament. Then another figure was named Daegu, who was a level 20 guard cat beast for the princess. Daegu said that Princess Mina and the royal guards were now completely pointless. He even suggested that they should just die like that. Additionally, he mentioned that he was tired. Princess Mina was also hanging upside down there unconsciously. She was at level 12 and served as the princess of the Kingdom of Stars, a human priest. Names like Kingdom of Stars and Princess Mina seemed oddly familiar to Bai. Bai was shocked when he realized who they were. They weren't the NPCs one would typically encounter upon arrival. Bai even wondered if the walking cave was the original birthplace for beginners. It was simply too terrifying for Bai to even think about. If he had chosen the civilian path, he would have died as soon as he appeared. Walking cave, level 20 to 30. Bai was at level 1, and his human class had not been chosen. At this moment, Bai realized the Game Plus world was hellishly hard. It was as bad as he had expected, but Bai enjoyed the huge traffic it brought due to his skillful runs. It gave the audience a wonderful and shocking gaming experience. But while Bai was slowly rising up to the peak, he was suddenly mysteriously killed. Then the voice assistant narrates that Rebirth was both the end and the beginning. Bai Chi, who is embarking on the path to become a king, is starting at a dead end.
If you like this video, then subscribe our channel to support us.
I noticed that the order of the main storyline had become completely messed up. Originally, the first chapter of the game's storyline should be being born in levels 1 to 10 in Anka Village. Then, go to level 10 to 20 in the Burnt Jungle. Do quests to trigger a forced storyline. Get captured in the level 20 to 30 dungeon, Wailing Cave. Rescue the hanging princess, Mina, and her party. Finally, cooperate to strategize and escape the dungeon. But Bai started his game directly from the walking cave, which was unexpected. However, Bai chose to ignore that for the time being. First, he needed to choose a starting profession. It was crucial to escape, so he had to plan tactics for the future. Bai activated the initial profession selection. The voice assistant informed Bai that his request had been received, and his initial profession selection had been activated. It then asked Bai to choose his profession. Professions were Brave Warrior, Close Combat Profession, equipped with a longsword and shield, balanced offense and defense. Wood Mage, Long Range Profession, using a staff and spells, capable of both attack and healing. Assassin, Close Combat/Range Profession, using daggers and throwing knives, emphasizing attack speed and agility. Elemental, Close Combat/Range Profession, using a single-handed staff or bow, controlling the power of natural elements for attacks. Outcast, a despised and scorned role without any characteristics or extra armor, starting with only rags and a wooden stick. Bai asked the assistant why it was bothering to ask. Bai's choice was still the same as when he first cleared the game, which was Outcast. The voice assistant said that there were so many useful professions available, but Bai had chosen the weakest one with the highest survival difficulty. The voice assistant thought that Bai's choice this time might be different. Bai explained that the profession choice in Throne of Souls affects early game survival rate and playstyle, although it's possible to specialize in different professions in the mid-game. But the players still couldn't exceed the broad framework of the major professions. Only the profession Outcast had its survival difficulty maxed out. Bai said that if a player survived the early game's high difficulty, they could find a hidden NPC in the mid-game. This NPC could reset their attributes, allowing a profession switch without any restrictions. Despite its high difficulty, this approach offered the highest replayability. It also had a hidden feature. Bai could unlock all the profession achievements. He could do this by endlessly switching professions without starting new playthroughs for each one. This was why Bai became the first to complete the game and earn all the achievements. The voice assistant said it understood. The main topic was Bai's meticulous planning of his adventures, a trait of a top-tier player. It then informed Bai that the main quest had been updated. The notification panel said the new main quest was to survive and reach the exit of the walking cave. The reward was 1.4 account unlock. The notification panel explained that account unlock points allow users to unlock 25% of items in their current account's warehouse or randomly unlock a new game account with 25% usage rights for items and skills. Bai then pondered that surviving and escaping the dungeon was the most important thing. However, Bai received his new profession. Seeing that Bai was finally coming to his senses, Gray showed him a rope. He told Bai to untie the rope so they could all escape together. As Bai approached a rope, Gray told him that that was the rope that needed to be untied. Bai then questioned whether they were aware of the consequences of untying the rope. However, Bai untied the ropes. After they landed on the ground, Gray thanked Bai. He said to him that if it hadn't been for Bai, they would still be hanging there, waiting to die. Daegu said that instead of actively seeking death, he would prefer to remain hanging in the air and wait to die. But House interrupted them and told Gray to find a way to wake up the princess. Gray responded to House by saying that he was present and suggesting that House stop sulking all the time. Before Gray could say anything further, someone attacked him and threw him away. It was the Plague Beast clan leader, Blood Axe Modik. He was at level 30. Modik told Gray that, as food, he would be better off staying put in the storage room. House recognized Modik as the leader of the Plague Beast clan, but his sudden appearance shocked House. Modik was holding a large axe, which was dripping with blood. Modik killed everyone, including Bai. However, This outcome was only a possibility if Bai had chosen to rescue them. Because after rescuing them, they all had to face the boss battle of this dungeon. Bai explains that that battle was extremely difficult and everyone must give their all. But if Bai engaged in combat in his current state of no attributes, no level, no equipment, that was certain death. The key was to venture into the cave alone to obtain the account unlock reward. As for whether or not to come back to rescue them later, he would see later. Although they were important NPCs indeed. But Bai's survival was currently the top priority. So Bai did not untie the ropes for them, leaving them still hanging. Seeing this, Gray freaked out and asked Bai why he wasn't helping and if he was planning to escape alone. Gray questioned Bai about what was going through his mind. He also asked whether Bai really thought he could survive and escape the walking cave alone. He asked if Bai even had basic judgment. House told Gray that he had told them not to waste time on Bai. He claimed that Bai was an outcast with nothing, not even intelligence or courage. House even assured Gray that Bai wouldn't survive even a minute. Upon hearing this, Bai replied, no matter what he said, they wouldn't believe him. But they'd soon understand Bai's intentions. Bai then added that it was about time. Soon, a plague beast cub arrived. He was at level 5, but it seemed confused. Bai was prepared to fight him. The plague beast cub revealed his menacing appearance and was ready to attack Bai. Bai remarked that he had been correct. Even though the beast was only a level 5 plague beast cub, the level 1 outcast stood no chance and was doomed to die. The beast approached Bai to attack him. Bai was also prepared for the attack. Bai says that even if he chose not to rescue, the battle was still inevitable. Besides, defeating a level 5 monster would be challenging but not impossible. Soon, the beast attacked Bai with his spiked bat, but Bai managed to protect himself from the blow. As a result, Bai's lifeline remained unchanged. The beast was puzzled by how Bai managed to defend himself against each of the beast's attacks. Seeing Bai dodge the attacks twice, House wondered if Bai was just lucky. He noted that the 2 dodges were clumsy, but the timing was surprisingly precise. Daegu commented that Bai was not simple at all. He admitted that all the regenerators were quite peculiar. Nevertheless, Daegu felt that it was none of his concern. At that moment, Daegu just wanted to die. Bai was pleased that there was no delay in the connection between his body and mind. He reflected that, despite there being no bonuses from professional equipment attributes, the countless battles had honed his reflexes and experience. After several failed attacks, the beast threw a bomb at Bai and laughed as it exploded near him. However, the beast was stunned to see that Bai had managed to defend himself once again. Bai advanced toward the beast through the smoke of the explosion. Bai then began his assault on the beast, which caused the beast to lose some of his lifeline. Bai attacked the beast several times, causing it to lose most of its lifeline. In the end, Bai struck the beast one last time. The beast finally died because of losing all its lifeline. Gray was stunned. He comments that a level 1 boy like Bai killed a level 5 plague beast with a wooden bat. Yet, Bai didn't even get any injuries. But Daegu was sad, because he also wanted to die like the beast. House admitted that he had underestimated Bai. Yet, he thought that, despite killing a level 5 beast, Bai's chances of survival were low. It was still a dead end. Bai knew he could avoid the beast's attacks. Bai's skills let him predict the beast's moves. But Bai wouldn't be able to match the beast's power in a short time. His current stats and weapons were still too weak. However, this didn't concern Bai. He had chosen the path of an outcast and was prepared to adopt a unique, playing style. Bai decided to avoid any fights that weren't absolutely necessary. The voice assistant then announced that Bai Chi had defeated a level 5 plague beast cub. He earned 100 spirit points, 2 gold coins, a weapon called Broken Mace, and plus 5 melee attack power. Bai looked at his stat panel and noted that it was as bad as he had expected. There were still 900 spirit points needed for the upgrade, and killing monsters to level up was not effective at that time. Bai emphasized that his ultimate goal was to escape from the cave in the fastest and safest way possible. As Princess Mina and her guards stayed tied up, they tried to persuade Bai to free them. House reminded Bai that with more people, they would be stronger, and their escape from the cave would be easier. Gray also urged Bai to let them down. Gray even told Bai that he would offer Bai anything Bai wanted, including gold coins or equipment. By that time, Princess Mina had regained consciousness. She told Gray that it was unnecessary to keep pressing the issue. She added that if they couldn't handle this on their own, it would be better to accept death. Princess Mina believed that they should face this challenge by themselves. Or else, how would they be able to overcome greater obstacles on the path to restoring their nation? Princess Mina told Bai that she found Bai's decision unwise as a level 1 abandoned child, but she still respected it. She thought Bai might be too confident, but she still wanted to advise him. There is a thin line between life and death, so Bai should be cautious. Even in such deep adversity, Princess Mina still maintained her rationality and elegance. Truly worthy of the title of Princess of Restoration, Mina Starlight. Bai told Princess Mina that he had his own plans, which he was not willing to share. Bai also mentioned that even if he promised to come back to save them, they would not believe him. House felt furious. He questioned Bai whether Bai was joking or insulting their intelligence, but Princess Mina intervened. She told House that his energy would be better spent finding a way out rather than cursing Bai. Soon Bai left them behind. Bai pondered that according to the original plot, even if Bai didn't save them, they would find a way to escape on their own. But if Bai didn't, he would miss several achievements related to Princess Mina. To save them or not, it all depended on whether Bai could reach the exit smoothly and the kind of reward he would get. Allies were important, but Bai's survival came first. Walking Cave. As the last dungeon of the first chapter of the game, it had many good things hidden. In order to collect all of them, Bai traveled to every hidden corner of the cave. So Bai was already familiar with it. So if Bai wanted to encounter the smallest number of enemies with the lowest level, Bai could only choose that path, and Bai had to save a key character. Bai saw another beast and hid behind a rock. At that time, Bai heard someone call out, asking who was there. The voice continued, expressing relief upon detecting that Bai was not a plague beast. So that voice invited Bai to come closer without fear. Bai noticed that the voice was coming from inside a big jar. The voice from inside the jar explained to Bai that he might be wondering how a jar could talk. In fact, it wasn't the jar itself speaking, but the person trapped inside. The voice revealed that he had originally gone into the cave to hunt for treasures, but he had to hide in the jar to avoid a plague beast. Unfortunately, he had been accidentally sealed inside by some faulty magic, and he was unable to escape. As Bai approached the jar, the person inside urged him to break the jar. The voice also mentioned that there were no plague beasts around, so it wouldn't attract any attention. Bai then broke the jar with his bat. The person who had been inside the jar was Lucci. He was at level 27, and his human class was unknown. After emerging from the jar, Lucci told Bai that Bai had done an amazing job and saved him. He then noticed that Bai was at level 1 abandoned, which Lucci found interesting. Lucci told Bai that he owed Bai a favor, so he would fulfill any reasonable request of Bai. Bai explained to Lucci that his friend had been captured by plague beasts in that cave. Bai wanted to save his friend but felt too weak to do so on his own, so he requested Lucci's help. Lucci responded that even Bai was brave, but he lacked wisdom. However, he assured Bai that he was fortunate to meet Lucci. Bai would be safe with him. Lucci instructed Bai to lead the way. On their way, Lucci and Bai encountered the beast that Bai had previously seen. It turned out to be an adult plague beast, which was at level 18. The beast was about to attack them, but Lucci noticed its smell and recognized it as the same scent as the one who had sealed Lucci in that jar. But before Lucci could act, the beast struck him with its hammer, causing Lucci to lose some of his lifeline. Soon, Lucci attacked the beast with his sword, causing the beast to lose half of its lifeline. While striking the beast, Lucci told it that it had left him to die in that jar, so it deserved to die. Lucci then struck the beast again, causing it to lose the rest of its lifeline and die. Seeing that, Bai expressed that Lucci was awesome. Lucci remarked that he wouldn't have dared to enter the cave to hunt for treasure without his abilities. Lucci then told Bai to continue their journey. Bai took Lucci to the edge of a cliff and told him that Bai had heard his friend's voice from below. Bai mentioned that he wasn't sure if his friend could hold on, so they needed to find a way to save him quickly. Lucci replied that it was easy, as his methods were the fastest. Then he kicked Bai off the edge of the cliff. Lucci said that it was his bad habit. As soon as he saw someone standing on the edge of a cliff, he couldn't resist kicking them down. However, he admitted that he had managed to resist this impulse because Bai had saved him. But he then mentioned that Bai was a reborn, and there was a law that anyone found to be a reborn would be punished. But then, Lucci heard Bai's voice asking how he had discovered that Bai was reborn. Lucci felt shocked when he realized Bai was still alive. So he inquired how Bai had survived the fall from such a great height. Bai explained that if he had jumped down on his own, he would have died. But since Lucci had kicked him down, he survived. Yet Bai had lost most of his lifeline because of the fall. Bai pondered the fact that, although Bai couldn't die, the pain of ruptured internal organs was real. Fortunately, Bai always knew there was equipment below that could be picked up. Then a notification panel appeared. It stated that Bai had obtained one blood spirit jar and one glowing stone fragment. On the other side, Lucci remarked that he had heard that the reborn were very strange. He regretted that he had kicked Bai down instead of killing Bai with a sword from behind. But Bai was now trapped in the abyss. He would eventually die. So Lucci told Bai to wait for it. Lucci, an insidious NPC who always likes to kick players into the abyss in the original game. Players can read hidden areas and take advantage of the kicked but not killed mechanism. Bai drank a potion from a cup, which caused his lifeline to fill up. Bai wondered about the term reborn. This setting had never appeared in the Throne of Souls game before. So he asked the system for a translation of reborn. The voice assistant replied that most of the information was locked. But the information that could be disclosed at that time was that reborn referred to people who had come back from the dead due to unknown special circumstances. Bai then pondered that the information being locked seemed vital and that it wouldn't be given for free. He realized that discovering this could lead to punishment. His reborn identity was proving to be quite tricky, and he needed to be cautious to avoid an unexpected end. Although there were no plague beasts lurking behind him, the terrain remained insidious. He knew he shouldn't let his guard down, as the real danger had only just begun. Walking Cave Hidden. The Throne of the Souls is an open-world action-adventure game. The plot development and narrative techniques of the game tend to be fragmented. Players have to look for clues from different NPCs, monsters, bosses, ruins, and other places to get a glimpse of the truth of this world. As a player who has completely cleared all the levels and obtained all the achievements, Bai already knew everything about this world except for a few new unknown elements. In the center of this imaginary world called Pascalo, there is a huge crystal called the World of the Souls. Under the protection of its brilliance and energy, all species coexist harmoniously. The world was full of vitality, until one day, a spacecraft named Deep Void Unmanned Advanced Ship suddenly crashed into this world. Coincidentally, the place where the alien spacecraft crashed just so happened to be where the World of the Souls was. The foundation of this world collapsed just like that. Although Pascalo was nearing its end, it hadn't been completely destroyed. The world continued to divide and instead gave rise to more diverse species and civilizations. And the place where Bai was now was one of the abandoned ruins belonging to the underground civilization. Among the ruins deep under the Wailing Cave, there is an unknown underground river outlet. The mission only said to reach the exit alive, but it never specified which exit. This gives Bai the opportunity to skip class. Though this path isn't guarded by the Plague Beast clan, the death rate is much higher than the main path because one must accurately determine the location of the platform sticking out from the rock wall. One bad landing and you'll be dead. But for Bai, who has relied on countless deaths in exchange for experience, successfully reaching the bottom of the abyss is not a problem. The only thing Bai needed to pay attention to is that the closer Bai got to the bottom, the narrower the metal platforms, and Bai couldn't make as many mistakes. Even if he remembered all the locations of the platforms, he still needed to be careful. While jumping on the metal platforms, Bai almost lost his balance. But he managed somehow. Bai mentioned that he needed to be even more cautious, as he was almost at the bottom. Suddenly, someone behind him inquired if the exit was truly down there. Bai was shocked by someone's sudden appearance from behind. He became alert and attacked the person with his spiked bat. But the person managed to move away from Bai's strike. Bai asked who the person was. The person was Harvey, a level 30 player who was a human elemental ranger. Harvey mockingly asked Bai if Harvey scared a level 1 outcast. Harvey told Bai that he shouldn't have suddenly appeared behind Bai. Instead, he should have stabbed Bai right through the heart and killed him before Bai had time to react. Bai again asked Harvey who he was and why he had suddenly appeared behind Bai. Then Bai suddenly remembers something. He asked Harvey if he was the corpse from the bottom of the cave where Bai was picking up props. Bai then realized that Harvey was also a reborn. Harvey told Bai that his reaction had been too slow, but assured him that he wasn't blaming him for it. He explained that Bai was extremely unlucky compared to him, because Harvey had been reborn directly as a level 28 elemental ranger, while Bai had been reborn into the body of a level 1 outcast. Harvey mentioned that he didn't even have the motivation to kill a minor character like Bai. He then struck Bai in the stomach with his claws, causing Bai to lose half of his lifeline. Bai asked Harvey why he wanted to hurt Bai when Bai had never offended him. Bai asked if, as fellow regressors, they should help one another. Harvey questioned if Bai was joking. He wondered if Bai's system didn't say to him that regressors were the enemies of everyone, but their biggest enemies were other regressors. Harvey told Bai that he thought Bai had some special ability since Bai seemed so familiar with the path. However, it turned out that Bai didn't even know the most basic things. Harvey remarked that Bai had completely wasted his one opportunity to be reborn. Bai responded by saying he didn't believe Harvey. Harvey explained that it was normal for a level 1 outcast not to understand such matters. He then stated that he didn't need to waste any more time with Bai. However, since Bai had shown him the way to exit, Harvey wouldn't kill Bai directly. Whether Bai lived or died, it was up to him. But if Bai were lucky enough to survive, Harvey wouldn't mind if Bai came for revenge. With that, Harvey proceeded toward the exit. Bai complained to his system about why it hadn't informed him about regressors. He asked what other important information the system might be hiding from him. The system explained that the information had not been deliberately concealed. Bai would have to unlock the hidden details of the world on his own. The system then informed Bai that, due to the unique events he had encountered, he had unlocked 3 pieces of hidden information about regressors. 1. Regressors were defined as evil heretics in this world and hated by all species in this world. The reason for this had not been unlocked. There was more cruel killing and competition between regressors. The purpose for this had not been unlocked. Not only could Bai obtain massive soul points experience, but Bai could also obtain blood soul points. 2. Regressors was the collective name for people who were reborn in that world, but they were not limited to one single species. The reason for that had not been unlocked. 3. Regressors were randomly reborn into creatures of different species, different genders, different jobs, different identities, and different levels, and low-level regressors would be easily detected by a high-level regenerator with just one glance. The reason for that had not been unlocked. The initial job of each regressor contains unique information about that world, aside from outcast. However, outcasts could obtain unique information about other jobs through job changes. As for the difference between the systems of each regressor, relevant information had not been unlocked. Bai told the system that he was already almost dead and questioned the point of informing him at that stage. Bai acknowledged that the world of the Throne of the Souls was far from simple. However, Bai had finally gotten a chance to be reborn, and he knew he couldn't waste that so easily. So he fell from the metal platform intentionally. Bai was hit by several metal platforms while falling down. Despite the pain, he did not give up. He was almost at the bottom of the cave. Bai remarked that no matter how painful it was, he had to endure, as this was his final bet. At the end, Bai finally hit the ground, losing more of his lifeline. Even though his condition was worsening, he was pleased because he had won the bet. Bai mentioned that the exit was only 10 meters ahead, and all he had to do was crawl out. Before Bai could reach the exit, he heard a familiar sound and smelled a familiar scent. That sound and the scent were from a beast. It was a level 25 Wigglytooth fusion beast. Seeing the beast in front of him, Bai was puzzled. He wondered how that monster had gotten there. Bai found it strange that a Wigglytooth fusion beast was at the exit of the underground river. As far as Bai could recall, there shouldn't have been any monsters there. However, Bai knew he needed to take advantage of the beast's slow movement in its first form. He must crawl to the exit as quickly as possible. But before Bai could crawl to the exit, the beast suddenly split into its fast-moving form. This shocked Bai, as the transformation shouldn't have happened so soon. In fact, that beast shouldn't be there in the first place. Bai found the situation very strange. Bai wondered if Harvey had deliberately lured the monsters out to trap Bai. Bai said that Harvey's appearance had ruined Bai's control of the situation. According to the current circumstances, the only possible outcome seemed to be death. But Bai, who had fought through hundreds of battles, did not give up that time either. He jumped into the river, but the monster did not enter the river. Bai was suffering because the river was acidic. That's right. This underground river, due to thousands of years of mutation and pollution, has become an acid Styx river that can swallow up almost all living things. Although the pain Bai felt through his bones was worse than death, one should not underestimate his will to live. That was the only path left if Bai wanted to live. Although the water from this acidic Styx river was causing extreme pain, at least Bai's clothes could act as some sort of protection. But to the wiggly-tooth fusion beast that had its skin exposed, it's fatal. Bai had to crawl to the exit while they were still debating whether or not to risk their lives. Bai was in extreme pain, but he almost reached towards the exit. Bai says that he was finally able to start again. He would never allow himself to live the same way as he did in his previous life, living a life of frustration and despair. Bai was born in a poor mountainous area. Bai thought that if he was admitted into a high-ranking high school in the city, he would be able to change his future by studying like others, so he left his mother and home resolutely. In the city, Bai worked as a dishwasher, but Bai's owner would often scold him for either washing the dishes too quickly or leaving the job. At night, Bai would study in his room, but his roommate complained about Bai's late-night studying because the light from Bai's flashlight disturbed their sleep. Even though Bai's part-time job was hard and Bai had to face the pressure of having to study, Bai would never back down because he still had hope. Thankfully, Bai was admitted into his dream university. Unfortunately, his mother was diagnosed with a terminal illness. Bai's world had collapsed. All his tears of sweat and hard work were all in vain. Although Bai gave up on his studies, worked hard, and borrowed money, he still couldn't save his mother. Even while working as a food delivery man, Bai often faced difficulties. Once, he delivered food late, and the customer wanted to give him a bad review. Bai explained to the customer that, due to the heavy rain, there were puddles, and he had to run, which caused the delay. But the customer didn't care, and was only concerned that his food had gone cold. He told Bai that if Bai couldn't be on time, he shouldn't work as a delivery man. Working part-time and streaming games became Bai's whole life. Although there wasn't anything special about his streams, Bai's popularity skyrocketed because of one particular game. But when Bai was about to reach the peak of his life, he died unexpectedly. Though Bai already didn't care much for the concept of life and death, he absolutely couldn't accept this joke like death. Seeing himself being reborn into a game Bai was very familiar with, Bai was framed at the beginning of the game and had to endure that frustration. What a joke. But Bai would never allow that. Before becoming the king of that world, Bai refused to die. Bai stood up, and soon after, the monsters attacked him, leaving him with only a small amount of lifeline. Just before Bai lost his remaining lifeline, the system informed him that he had successfully escaped the walking cave and earned 1 point for his account unlock points. The system instructed Bai to choose between two options. The first was to unlock 25% of the item usage rights in Bai's previous game's account inventory. That would be random and no usage restriction. The second option was to randomly unlock a new game account. It would also grant 25% of the usage rights for items and skills. After Bai selected an option, the system declared that Bai had chosen option 1. It unlocked 25% of the items in his previous account inventory. Then the system requested Bai to check the items. Holy Blood Essence. The Holy Blood Essence was a god-level consumable. It immediately restored 100% of blood and permanently increased the peak level by 30. Bai had also equipped the Bloodthirsty Shadows set. It was a hidden assassin set with a deep murderous intent embedded in the shadows. This set greatly boosted agility and intelligence. It had a special effect known as Shadow Sting. Bai equipped the Scarlet Killing Blade. It was a double dagger. The Scarlet Blade was as refined as blood. It was the best weapon for a hidden assassin with rapid speed and strong lethality. It came with a combat skill known as Scarlet Flame. Bai finally endured until the end, and he got a new look, just like what a reborn king should look like. His lifeline had also been restored. Soon after, Bai began killing the monsters with his new weapon, the Scarlet Killing Blade. Bai said that inheriting the props from his old account was better than the risk of unlocking a new one. Although it was only 25%, it was enough for the mid-early stage. His inventory was full of top-quality props and equipment. Soon, Had killed all the fast-moving monsters. The Wigglytooth fusion beast was now howling and preparing to attack Bai. Told the beast to hold off for a while. The system then notified Bai that the hidden mission had been updated. It instructs him to kill the Wigglytooth fusion beast. If Bai succeeded, he would receive 3 times the usual soul points as a reward. And that was the mission reward Bai had been waiting for. Bai activated his combat skill, Scarlet Flame. He warned the beast to prepare itself, as the real battle had just begun. Bai began attacking the Wigglytooth fusion beast. Bai knew how the beast fought, but as long as Bai was fast enough, he would be able to neutralize the attacks. First, Bai used his bone excruciating pain skill to attack the beast. That attack caused the beast a lot of pain. The pain Bai had suffered, he wanted to repay double to the beast. Bai once again attacked the beast with his Scarlet Burn skill, causing the beast more pain. The system then explained that Scarlet Burn debuff caused by scarlet flames that exploded in a cut wound. The damage would last for 15 seconds. Also, the bone excruciating pain debuff was from the hidden assassin's combat skills. They caused a deep incision in the bone. The Scarlet Burn and the bone excruciating pain were causing the beast immense suffering. Bai then decided to put the beast out of its misery. He used the Shadow Assassination formation to turn into shadow clones. They all attacked the beast at the same time. Shadow Assassination formation, the ultimate combat skill of the hidden assassin. The player could transform into several Shadows clones that would all focus on the target. The Shadow clones were immune to all physical and magical attacks for 5 seconds. Bai's Shadow clones all stabbed the beast with their swords at once. As a result, the beast lost all its lifelines. The system then notified Bai. He had killed the rare elite Wigglytooth fusion beast and completed the side mission. As a result, Bai received double the soul point reward, bringing his total to 18,000 soul points. The system mentioned that sometimes a faint light is stronger than a raging fire. However, Bai had earned his achievement and had directly upgraded 8 levels in one go. This was the result of level skipping battles and the system rewards. Leveling up in the Throne of the Souls was very difficult. Bai once summarized the rules and values for obtaining soul points and leveling up during a live stream. The summary had no meaning. Still, the audience liked it. Later, the system notified Bai. He had acquired 108 gold coins, 2 filthy crystal bottles, and a prayer, Piercing of Suffering. Filthy crystal bottle restores 30% of blood volume after use. Prayer, Piercing of Suffering, attack type prayer. Summon sharp blades that will pierce the 3-dimensional space around your body with a diameter of 3 meters. Activated by a kneeling posture of devotion. Number of uses is 3. Bai mentioned that the prayer had been useful. He had tried to acquire that skill 30 times, but failed. But it appeared on the first attempt that time. He noted that since he was currently pursuing the path of a hidden assassin, agility was the most crucial attribute, even with the bonuses from equipment and peak levels. Bai said that all he needed to do in the early stage was to mindlessly increase his agility. Then Bai took a closer look at what else had been unlocked in 25% of his inventory. He noticed that most of it consisted of consumables and ingredients. Bai felt a bit embarrassed. He had many top-quality weapons and professional sets, but it seemed he hadn't unlocked enough of his inventory. However, in addition to the hidden assassin set he was using, he had also unlocked 2 top-quality sets. Blood Armor Dragon set. Drink dragon blood to get the dragon set. Berserker set. It can be equipped by those with strength above 80. Highest grade heavy armor with both strength and endurance, which ordinary people cannot control. Dragon Spine Sword. The bone-piercing pain. The dragon whose spine was turned into a sword knows true pain. Only a 2-handed sword made from a dragon's spine can cut through a dragon's indestructible skin. Starry Sky Prophet. Look up and marvel. Look down at the prophecy. Magic Mage set. It belongs to the branch of Star Magic and can be equipped by those with an intelligence of 100 or above. Deep Space Beacon. Even in the dark universe, it can illuminate the way for the stars to return. A top-notch staff made of golden meteorites from the universe, which works extremely well when paired with Star Magic. Bai said that, if the 2 top sets couldn't be used, His other unlocked items could ensure his survival in the early stages. He then questioned whether he should return to rescue Princess Mina and her party or continue on his own. Bai considered that, based on his understanding of the game, going solo wouldn't pose any problems. However, he was now facing the uncertainty brought by the regressors. He wondered how much the original game had changed due to the presence of a regressor, and whether there were any other unknown elements that could alter the original settings. However, Bai thought it better to join Princess Mina's party. It was better than taking high risks alone while gathering information. Bai says that, according to the original plot, if he chose to save Princess Mina, they would become important helpers later on. Even if they didn't follow the plot and betrayed Bai, he could protect himself. So, as decided, Bai started moving towards Princess Mina. On the way back, Bai encountered many beasts. He used his piercing of suffering skill to kill them. After killing the beasts, Bai mentioned that the monsters on the main route outside the cave had almost been wiped out, and the only battle left was the final boss battle. However, Bai had leveled up to level 10. The system also congratulated Bai on successfully reaching level 10. Then the system informed Bai that the reputation system had been turned on. So it told Bai to check and manage his reputation at any time, and choose who to untie or make enemies with. Bai then pondered that the reputation system was a new feature that hadn't existed in the original game. It seemed that a lone wolf type of gameplay was not encouraged. In the reputation system for Princess Mina's view, Bai's reputation was listed as enemy. Bai's desperate actions had made Princess Mina's camp hostile towards him. Seeing his reputation with Princess Mina, Bai wondered just how badly they were cursing him behind his back. On the other hand, Gray told his party that the more he thought about Bai, the angrier he felt. Gray couldn't understand how a level 1 outcast could be so foolish as to choose not to save them and die alone. However, Gray considered that Bai's body must have gone completely cold by now. House mentioned that he had long heard rumors that all the regressors were driven by self-interest and had evil intentions. He added that regressors appeared on the wanted lists of all countries. Daegu expressed that being targeted by everyone wasn't such a bad way to die, and he even envied Bai for it. Princess Mina interrupted their conversation, advising them not to discuss such trivial matters. She said they were framed for their inferior skills. Princess Mina accepted responsibility. As the leader and lowest-ranking member, it was her duty to bear the blame. She then apologized, acknowledging that it was because of her that they had followed her and died in vain. Gray reassured Princess Mina. He reminded her that they had sworn allegiance to her long ago. So, there was no need to apologize. House added that their complaints were not out of fear of death. They couldn't bear the thought of an idiotic outcast ruining Princess Mina's dream of restoring the kingdom before she could be tried. Suddenly, someone cut the ropes, and they all began to fall to the ground. Gray quickly urged House to protect Princess Mina from hitting the ground. House managed to fall just before her, allowing Princess Mina to land on him. Everyone landed safely, but Daegu was frustrated. This was yet another failed attempt to end his life. As they hit the ground without warning, Gray wondered if the person who cut the rope wanted to save or kill them. Noticing everyone's tense expressions, Bai told them not to worry. He mentioned that it was merely a small payback for the way they had cursed him earlier. Recognizing Bai's voice, Princess Mina and her team realized it was Bai. Bai asked them if they were surprised to see that he had returned to save them, but he also warned them that the boss would arrive in 1 minute. He urged them to prepare quickly for the battle, as there was no time to waste. Bai cut the ropes that bound Princess Mina and her team's hands with a sharp knife. Princess Mina questioned whether they were truly saved by Bai, especially when the leader of the Plague Beast clan was about to appear. She had doubts about Bai's real intentions in coming back to rescue them. Despite her suspicions, Princess Mina thanked Bai. Without him, they would have likely hung there until they turned to bones. Bai, however, told Princess Mina that it was not the time for thanks yet. He warned them of a crisis in 40 seconds. Bai urged them to grab their weapons and escape together. He suggested that this would be the best way to show their gratitude. Seeing the way Bai spoke to Princess Mina, House became angry. He warned Bai to watch his tone. House even threatened to decapitate Bai for disrespecting Princess Mina. Meanwhile, Gray was surprised at how Bai had gone from level 1 to level 10 in less than half a day. He remarked that rumors had it that every regressor had secrets, and Bai seemed no exception. Daegu then challenged Bai, saying he had guts and taunted him to fight. He added that Bai would have to kill him, or else Daegu would kill him instead. Bai had used provocative language with them on purpose. It had the desired effect, as Bai had planned. Bai then said they could kill or mutilate him if they wished. But, without him, their combat strength would suffer. They would lose the upcoming boss battle. Bai even mentioned that just a few of them wouldn't stand a chance of winning. House grew even more furious at Bai's attitude and tone. But Princess Mina intervened. She tells House that it wasn't the time for emotional outbursts. She urged everyone to prepare for battle immediately. Princess Mina told her team that they had many questions lingering in their minds, but she would not allow any mistakes to be made now that they had finally obtained a glimmer of hope. Her team obeyed and prepared themselves for the impending battle. Bai was pleased that his assessment had been passed. He reflected that Princess Mina's personality was unchanged. She was still as fair as ever. Bai also noted that Princess Mina's guards hated him. It was due to his past actions of watching people die without intervening. Their animosity was not because of his identity as a regressor. Despite this, Bai felt relieved. They could at least cooperate in the upcoming boss battle. With 10 seconds left until the boss battle, Bai threw a thunderstorm trap onto the ground. Thunderstorm trap, a numbing sensation like an electric shock that lingered throughout the body until death. Crave the runs of thunderstorm magic into the fragile detonation once stepped on, lightning and paralysis would erupt. Phase 1 of the battle had begun. Just before the battle, Bai told the team he would join them in 3 minutes. Bai instructed them to fight on their own until then. Bai suddenly disappeared from the scene. That made House stunned at how Bai had become invisible. House couldn't understand why Bai had asked for 3 minutes at the battle's start. He wondered what Bai's intentions were. Soon, the beast arrived. He tells the princess's team that, as food, they should quietly stay in the pantry. He even questioned why they were always trying to escape. The beast's name was Modik, a level 30 plague beast clan leader. As Modik advanced to attack, he unknowingly stepped on Bai's thunderstorm trap. The trap triggered, sending electric shocks through him. It caused Modik to lose some of his lifeline. Gray, observing this, wondered how Bai had known the exact time and location of Modik's appearance. Princess Mina told Gray not to worry about it for now. Then she told everyone to focus their fire on the boss. They needed to bring him down, but Bai laughed at them, claiming that a bunch of ingredients couldn't defeat him so easily. Modik then attacked House with his axe, causing House to lose some of his lifeline. House was struggling to defend himself against Modik's overwhelming power. House remarked that even if he managed to fully block the blows, he would still get hurt. Daga shot arrows at Modik. Gray used his power to tie Modik up with tree branches. But, to Modik, these attacks were child's play. Modik ignored the arrows and easily freed himself from the branches. Modik then taunted them. Modik said their attacks mocked him. If they wanted to fight, they should show their true skills. Modik began attacking with his axe. He warned them to run like frightened rats. That was their best option. Modik then used his force-directed splatter power to attack Princess Mina's team. He declared he would play with them until death. He wanted to use their pain and screams as seasoning, relishing the taste of their broken bodies. Princess Mina had created a shield around each of her team members. Yet it was impossible to avoid the all-encompassing attack. Gray wondered why Bai had boasted and then fled. House advised Gray to focus on the immediate situation and not to worry about Bai for the time being. As the princess's magic was likely to be depleted soon, Princess Mina told her team not to mind her, assuring them that she could still hold on. She told her team they couldn't keep taking hits like that. She urged them to find a way to fight back. After noticing Princess Mina's confidence, Modik remarked that Princess Mina seemed the most exquisite and delicious part of the ingredients. So he decided to kill her first. As Modik prepared to attack Princess Mina, House intervened. The attack struck House instead. Curious about House's motives, Modik wanted to see what House had against him. But before Modik could attack further, he felt a sharp pain in his back. His lifeline also became half. When Modik turned his head, he saw that Bai had stuck something on his back. Modik asked Bai what he had done to him. Bai replied that he had added a little seasoning to Modik's back, as Modik was fond of it. Bai had applied Acid Styx River Water to Modik's back. Acid Styx River Water, Bloom, the flower of decay from the abyss. The longer the toxin was applied to a weapon, the more extended the duration of its effect would be. Having realized that Bai had tricked him, Modik became furious. He told Bai that he wasn't even worthy of being considered an ingredient and vowed to chop Bai down. Modik then attacked Bai with his axe, but Bai defended himself with incredible speed. Seeing Bai's agility, Gray began to wonder if that level of speed was typical for someone at level 10. But then Modik started feeling excruciating pain. He realized that Bai had applied Acid Styx River Water to his back. Modik wondered how Bai had known that Acid Styx River Water was deadly to their Plague Beast clan. However, Modik now wanted to kill Bai and everyone else because Bai had made him so pathetic. In his fury, Modik struck the ground with his axe so forcefully that it made some cracks in the ground. Seeing that, Gray wondered if Modik was starting to go berserk due to the poison and if he had lost his sanity. Gray considered this an opportunity to take Modik down while he was weakened, but Bai warned them not to go there. Modik hadn't lost his sanity. The battle had entered its second phase. The crack made by Modik on the ground had struck a pile of corpses, causing them to awaken. Bai remarked that Modik was weak, but still had control over the corpses. Bai told Princess Mina's team to block the corpse transformations, and Bai would handle the boss himself. Gray questioned whether Bai wanted to die by fighting Modik alone. However, Princess Mina ordered Gray to follow Bai's instructions. They must not let any of the corpse transformations pass. The team prepared accordingly. Observing that Bai was facing Modik alone, Modik remarked that while Bai's level was low, his heart was big. He then told Bai that he was accustomed to the pain, challenging Bai to show him what more he had. Bai pondered that Modik's adaptation speed was within expectations, and the toxin's duration had about 1 minute left. He added that according to the original plan, as long as Bai didn't die, Princess Mina should be fine. So Bai prepared to resolve the battle within that minute. Modik then told Bai that instead of spending time thinking about how to defeat him, Bai should focus more on avoiding being turned into minced meat. Bai then used his Scarlet Xian Fire skill, and remarked that being turned into minced meat was actually a pretty good way to die for Modik. Modik had killed Bai several times before. Modik used to tell Bai he was just a lamb, waiting to be slaughtered. Bai was just meat on a cutting board. Bai's weakness was like minced meat in a cook's hands. Modik claimed he could shape Bai however he pleased, depending on his mood. Wailing Cave Boss, Bloodaxe Modik, known for his tough skin and rough flesh, Bai must have died at least 30 times before he could get past Modik. Modik wondered, as he saw Bai dodging his attacks, how even ingredients could dare to rebel. It was simply preposterous. Bai says that Modik's attacks were fast, its power was high, and its weapon comes with life-stealing properties. With Bai's current health and level, Bai could at most withstand only 2 direct attacks from Modik, but Bai's agility was high enough. As long as Bai didn't get hit, endure these final 2 minutes, and utilize the poison to reduce the boss's health, Bai could safely go to the third phase. Modik asked Bai why he was only dodging his attacks instead of trying to kill him as he had claimed he would. Modik observed that Bai was able to dodge all his attacks due to Bai's impressive speed. Frustrated, Modik called Bai a coward and demanded that he face him head-on. Modik even threw sharp stones at Bai, but Bai continued to evade them effortlessly. Princess Mina observed that Bai was dodging the boss's attacks flawlessly. He was relying only on his speed. Bai's dodging skills seemed beyond those of a rookie who had just leveled up from 1 to 10. Bai appeared more like a seasoned veteran. Modik finally saw through Bai's tricks. He told Bai that dodging Modik's attacks and using poison on Modik's body might help, but it was not enough. Modik challenged Bai, asking whether Bai would poison him to death first or if Modik would chop Bai down. Modik then used his blood dance power to attack Bai. With that, the third phase began. Modik remarked that in his blood dance state, Bai would have nowhere to hide. He then attacked Bai, causing Bai to lose some of his lifeline in the process. Modik laughed and told Bai that no matter how slick he thought he was, he couldn't escape the range of his blood dance. Bai says that indeed, in the third phase, Modik's attack range greatly increases, making it very difficult to dodge. Just getting splattered by the blood could cause damage. But Bai had been waiting for that phase. Seeing Modik's blood dance skill, House said that, even if Bai dodged, he was doomed. So House informed Gray that he would leave the corpses to Gray, as he needed to prepare to face the boss. But Gray replied that he couldn't handle all the corpses alone. Meanwhile, Modik swung his axe with the intention of ending Bai's life. However, before Modik could strike, Bai used his close combat skill to evade the attack. Modik was stunned. He could not understand how someone of Bai's level could teleport like that. In the past, when playing games, seeing such fierce and powerful moves from the boss would instinctively lead the players to distance themselves to avoid attacks, and the result of that was a miserable death. But the key to winning at that stage was close combat. Because in the third state, the boss's attack speed slows down and defense also decreases. Utilizing Shadow Sting to enter a specific radius around the boss, enduring manageable splash attacks, exchanging blows. Let's see who falls first. Using his close combat skill, Bai stabbed modik in the back, causing modik to lose more of his lifeline. Modik moaned in pain and questioned why Bai always attacked him from behind. As modik screamed in agony, Gray began to wonder if Bai had turned the tables. House remarked that if Bai wanted to die, taking such a heavy blow from that distance would surely be fatal. Daegu also wondered if Bai had found Modik's weakness. He hoped Bai could find his, too. Meanwhile, Modik relentlessly attacked Bai, causing Bai to lose half of his lifeline. Bai then used his thrusting skill to attack Modik. As a result, Modik lost most of his lifeline, which left him extremely frustrated. Modik was shocked. He never expected someone who should be minced meat to push Modik so hard. Modik had barely managed to acquire the blood-sucking rune item. Now, he had to use it on someone as insignificant as Bai. He felt he had no other choice but to use the blood-sucking rune, despite his reluctance. Blood-sucking rune, imitation deep space equipment. Using the rune, one could absorb blood from a controlled target's body to replenish their own health. Modik had used the blood-sucking rune skill on the corpses to restore his own health. He told Bai to wait until he was fully recovered, vowing to tear Bai apart once he regained his strength. As a result of the blood-sucking rune skill, the effects of the scarlet burn vanished from Modik's body. Bai was shocked to see that Modik was actually regenerating. He remarked that Modik shouldn't have had access to the blood-sucking rune skill and noted how surprising it was to encounter settings that didn't exist in the original game, especially in such a critical life-or-death situation. But then someone used the Forbidden Barrier over Modik. Forbidden Barrier. Encase the target with a magical barrier, cutting off its connection with the outside world, preventing it from being healed, blessed, etc. While Modik was using his blood-sucking rune to heal, Princess Mina cast her Forbidden Barrier on Modik. It interrupted Modik's recovery. Princess Mina then reassured everyone not to panic. She explained that it was merely an imitation of deep space equipment. She also mentioned that even her spells could easily cut through it. Princess Mina then ordered everyone to ignore the corpse swarm. They should focus all attacks on Modik to defeat him with one blow. Because of Princess Mina, Modik's plans were ruined. Modik then said that he should have killed her from the beginning and prepared to attack her. Princess Mina's team was too far away to save her from Modik. Suddenly, Bai stepped in between Princess Mina and Modik's attack. As a result, Modik's strike hit Bai, causing Bai to lose most of his lifeline. Princess Mina apologized to Bai for causing him to lose so much of his lifeline. Bai told Princess Mina not to say anything, admitting that it was his fault for losing focus. Bai reassured Princess Mina. She didn't need to apologize for being in danger. It was Bai's fault for failing to take down the enemy in one fell swoop. Bai then restored some of his lifelines. Modik questioned Bai on how long he would bother Modik. He even threatened to slaughter Bai. Bai responded with a challenge, stating that it would be a final move deciding life and death. Before Modik attacked Bai, he noticed that the aura emanating from Bai felt dangerous. Modik thought that the smell of blood coming from Bai was even stronger than his own. So instead of attacking, Modik chose to escape. Modik told Bai that he would spare Bai for the time being. Gray was amazed to see that Modik was actually fleeing. When Modik escaped, the magic he had cast over the corpse dissipated, and the corpse returned to its lifeless state. House and the team soon reached Princess Mina. They apologized for being late, which had nearly put her in danger. Princess Mina reassured them that it was okay. The important thing was that they had all survived the encounter with the boss. However, Bai warned that the crisis was not completely over, and they couldn't let their guard down. He then rushed toward Modik with the intent to kill him. Princess Mina tried to convince Bai. It was not the right time to pursue that issue. It was best to leave while they still could. Bai ignored Princess Mina's advice and told her that he had his own reasons for wanting Modik dead. Bai then used the Shadow Assassination Formation skill. It created multiple clones of him. They all attacked Modik at once and stabbed him. Bai was ultimately successful in killing Modik. Bai expected to level up as a result. Bai told Princess Mina they couldn't let Modik escape. It could lead to uncontrollable situations. Princess Mina and each of her team members had upgraded by 1 level, while Bai had leveled up by 2 levels, bringing his current level to 12. The system also told Bai he had defeated Blood Axe, Modik. As a reward, Bai earned 320 gold coins and 15,000 soul points. Bai then told everyone that they had passed the toughest test in the walking cave. They could now catch their breath for a moment. The system then displayed the items Bai had obtained. Blood Dance Fury Axe, dance wildly in the bloody storm. Battle Axe can be dual-wielded. A sharp battle axe soaked in large amounts of blood and flesh, Wielding it would make player easily angered and mad, with its unique skill, Blood Dance. Necromancy. Hurry up and thank me for giving you a second life. Although you didn't look very bright. Skill book, upgradable. Learning this skill allows control over corpses below level 30 to act according to commands until they die again. Blood-sucking mechanism. Even with your intelligence, you only deserve this imitated version. Mysterious person. Deep space device, imitated version. Using this mechanism forcibly absorbs the vitality of beings below level 10, slowly restoring one's own health. Princess Mina apologized to Bai. She shouldn't have influenced his judgment. His decisions have been accurate so far. She also thanked him for blocking the attack earlier, stating that she owed him a favor. In response, Bai reminded Princess Mina that she owed him 2 favors. But he suggested they discuss it after they escaped their predicament. Bai reflected that his judgments were only partially correct, but he couldn't understand why there were exceptions that contradicted the original settings. Bai wondered if the discrepancies were related to the reincarnator. So he must quickly figure out all of that, or else he could face unknown dangers at any time. Gray expressed his admiration for Bai. He remarked that it was hard to believe how much Bai had changed in such a short time. Gray also noted that Bai seemed like a completely different person. Daegu added that such a change was typical of a rekindler, but he was grateful to Bai for saving him. Despite this, Daegu still expressed a desire to fight Bai to the death. Meanwhile, House apologized to Bai for his hostility and harsh words. He hoped Bai could forgive him and acknowledged Bai as a true hero. The system announced that Bai's reputation with Princess Mina's faction was debt of gratitude. Bai's rescue had greatly increased the favorability of Princess Mina's faction favor towards Bai, and his overall evaluation now was friendly. Bai felt pleased that his reputation had truly improved, but he was disappointed because the system did not mention any rewards associated with the reputation increase. Bai pondered that, as his favorability with the group was high, it would be more practical to gather some information. Bai told them that he wasn't a hero, just a rekindler whom everyone wanted to get rid of. But Bai noted that they didn't seem worried about his rekindler identity. In response, Princess Mina said Bai's rekindler status was special, but it made them all targets, like Bai. She said they had a strong bond with rekindlers. They had been helped by a very powerful rekindler before as well. Bai was surprised to hear about another rekindler. So, he asked Princess Mina to share more about it. Bai said that, as a newly awakened rekindler, he wanted to learn about others like him. Princess Mina suggested they shouldn't stay there for long. She proposed they talk while leaving. Gray agreed, expressing relief that they could finally leave. But Bai reminded Gray to stay focused. The boss was defeated, but other monsters were still in the cave. They couldn't let their guard down. On the way out of the cave, Princess Mina began explaining the rekindler. She mentioned that, before introducing the person, it was important to first understand the rekindlers as a whole. Rekindlers refer to people who have died and come back to life for some unknown reason. The common point among them was that they possessed some kind of special ability. They were first discovered after the First Fallen Star War. They had different ways of thinking and behavior than ordinary people, but most of them were cruel and debauched, disregarding rules and acting as if they were outsiders to that world. In the beginning, various countries did not pay much attention to them until an ancient prophecy from hundreds of years ago surfaced. The general meaning of the prophecy was that the world would collapse, and only rekindlers could unify that. So, each country viewed them as heretics and refused to accept that authority they gained from the division would be taken back by an outsider. Princess Mina remarked that the rekindler who had once assisted her and her team was entirely different. That rekindler had been powerful yet gentlemanly and refined, without the wild and debauched aura. She noted that Bai was very similar to that rekindler. Princess Mina told Bai that meeting the rekindlers was her fortune. She added that, although her own fate was tumultuous, Bai's fate would likely be even more unfortunate due to the world's hatred towards rekindlers. She warned that it would surpass Bai's imagination. Then, Princess Mina handed Bai a dagger. She mentioned that the dagger had been given to her by that rekindler. Then the system mentioned that the dagger was called the Obscure Gaze of the Watcher. With this dagger, no one could glimpse the true form of the Dark Watcher. Although it was a dagger, its damage was comparable to that of a craft knife. What was intriguing was that it could conceal the wearer's true identity without using high-level items, making it impossible to discern their true self. Bai was surprised to learn about the dagger's unique attribute. He mentioned that he had never encountered anything like it before. Princess Mina explained to Bai that the dagger could hide his identity as a rekindler, and it would reduce unnecessary threats. It could also help Bai find another rekindler, making it a valuable asset for him. However, Princess Mina's team was not pleased with this decision. House expressed his concerns. He argued that giving such an important item to someone else was risky. It could expose their identity and increase the danger. Gray agreed with House. He told Princess Mina that Bai had done them a favor, but there were better ways to show their thanks. In response, Princess Mina said her decision was final. No more objections were needed. Observing Princess Mina's generosity, Bai reflected on the benefits of improving his reputation. Bai acknowledged that the dagger was extremely useful for him, because it could stop higher-level rekindlers from recognizing him instantly. Bai admired Princess Mina for her kindness and righteousness, but Bai also mused that her exceptional qualities made her unlikely to become king. As the last bloodline of the Kingdom of Stars, Princess Mina should have lived a life revered by all as a member of the royal family. However, an unexpected disaster struck when the Guardian of the World, the soul of the world, was shattered into 8 fragments by extraterrestrial invaders, causing the world to undergo tremendous upheaval. Although there were no living beings on the deep space expedition ship, the various unknown genes carried on the ship led to species mutations, and the world was filled with apocalyptic crises. To protect the world, the Kingdom of Stars mobilized its forces and united under the leadership of the 8 lords to engage in a deadly battle against the mutant army, a war known as the First Fallen Star War. Although they managed to annihilate a large part of the mutant army, the Kingdom of Stars depleted its resources, and coupled with the intentional slacking off of the 8 lords during the war, the Kingdom of Stars crumbled, and the 8 lords declared independence, each taking a fragment of the world's stone. Although these events happened 100 years ago, as the last bloodline of the Kingdom of Stars, Princess Mina was still seen as a thorn in the eyes and a thorn in the flesh by the 8 rebellious nations. But the more she was suppressed, the more determined she became to embark on the difficult path of restoring the kingdom. Gray asked Bai why he was standing there. Gray also mentioned that the corpses along the way were from the plague beasts. He wondered if Bai had killed them all before coming to save them. Gray went on to praise Bai's skills, adding that it was a good thing that Bai didn't choose to be their enemy. Meanwhile, Daegu pointed out that the exit was just ahead. Though he expressed disappointment that he had once again failed to die, Princess Mina hurried toward the exit. She urged everyone to follow quickly. They were about to successfully escape from there. As they emerged from the cave, the sunlight finally touched Princess Mina's face. She remarked on how long it had been since they had bathed in warm sunlight. She expressed how amazing it was to regain freedom. House remarked that they were finally free. Gray cheered. They no longer had to endure the dark, damp air and the disgusting stench of corpses in the walking cave. At that moment, Daegu also felt grateful to be alive. Princess Mina told Bai that no gratitude could repay his life-saving grace. She said that, to appreciate freedom, one must experience it. She requested to thank Bai again. Bai replied modestly. The dagger she gave him was enough repayment for the favor. Bai then inquired about their next move. Bai pondered that although he knew what their next move was, it was better to ask just in case there had been any changes. Princess Mina replied that there was one thing they must do. When Bai inquired what that was, Gray informed him that it was something important. House then told Gray that there was no need to hide it. Bai was their savior and a true hero, and they didn't need to keep anything from Bai. Princess Mina agreed with House, stating that there was really nothing to hide. She admitted to feeling a bit embarrassed to say it out loud. Princess Mina explained that they had hired a capable group of mercenaries, but the mercenaries had betrayed them halfway. They were left in a dangerous situation with nothing. Also, the mercenaries had taken something very important from Princess Mina. She needed to retrieve it. Bai knew what that was, the Star Core. That was a necklace made from the core of the Shattered World Stone, a symbol of the royal bloodline of the Kingdom of Stars. It was also one of the most important special items in the game. Princess Mina admitted that her weakness and naivety had led her to blindly believe the mercenaries' lies. House was disappointed in himself and said that it had nothing to do with Princess Mina. He admitted that their failure to protect the princess and the sacred artifact was due to their own weakness. Gray also acknowledged that their weakness was only part of the problem. A larger issue was that the mercenaries had disguised themselves. They hadn't noticed the mercenaries' tricks at all. Daegu agreed. Even he hadn't detected any abnormal sense from them. This made Daegu fear it would be hard to find the mercenaries again. Princess Mina declared that she must find them. She would chase them to the ends of the world, no matter how long it took. Bai said to Princess Mina that there was no need to go that far, and it won't take too much time. He then asked Princess Mina if she would believe him if he said he knew where the mercenaries were. Everyone was shocked by Bai's statement. House asked Bai if he really knew where the mercenaries they were seeking were scattered. He also asked Bai how he had obtained the information. He stressed that this was not a matter to be taken lightly. Gray was also concerned. He remarked that Bai's statement was astonishing. Gray emphasized to Bai how important it was to them. Daegu, on the other hand, expressed his doubts. He questioned the credibility of the information. Bai reassured them that he wasn't joking. Bai even asked them if Bai had ever deceived them since the beginning. House admitted that despite the process being complicated, Bai had never misled them. Gray then asked Bai if he was saying that they were planning to put in a lot of effort, but they might not have achieved their goal. Daegu added that if that were resolved so easily. Princess Mina admitted that they still doubted Bai and apologized for that, but she felt a sense of relief now that the heavy burden in their hearts had been lifted. Princess Mina confessed that she had already prepared for the worst. Bai gently comforted Princess Mina, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. He told her not to worry. Bai explained that he could not reveal the details, but he could certainly pinpoint the location of the mercenary group that had harmed Princess Mina. All they needed to do at that time was follow Bai. Feeling shy, Princess Mina expressed her belief in Bai. Meanwhile, House, feeling offended, told Bai there was no need to be physical when talking to a lady. Gray intervened. He told House to stop interfering since Princess Mina hadn't objected. The scene then shifted to the burnt jungle, which was at levels 10 to 20. The perpetual underground fire burns this jungle, but it hasn't incinerated the life here completely. Instead, it maintains a relatively balanced ecosystem. If one didn't like the cold and damp northern regions, then the warm, burnt jungle could definitely be an alternative settlement option. One just needed to be careful not to get bitten by those damned red fire spiders. In the burnt jungle, a lizard was seen chasing a small creature. It eventually caught and ate the creature. The scene then shifted to that same lizard being grilled over a bonfire by a group of mercenaries. This was the mercenaries group that had tricked Princess Mina and her team. There were approximately 30 members in that mercenary group, and they were at levels 20 to 30. During their meal, one of the mercenaries, Kara, remarked that the burnt jungle was not a place for humans. He complained that it felt like they were being roasted alive. However, Kara added that the lizards they had caught tasted quite good. Kara was a level 27 human swordsman. He commented that, compared to their rewards, their hardships means nothing. Another member of the mercenary group, Marshall, agreed with Kara. Marshall was a level 28 human warrior. Marshall mentioned that they had Princess Mina to thank. She had been so easily deceived and revealed her true identity. Marshall also said that he couldn't understand why they had to stay in the burnt jungle. He added that he couldn't wait to head to the city and spend some money. Kara mentioned that Hades had his own arrangements, but hadn't explained the reasons behind them. Kara added that all they could do was wait, though at least the money they'd earned was secure. Then Yuri asked Hades how long they had to stay there. Yuri mentioned that although he was a fire mage, he hated the heat. Yuri was a level 29 deputy commander of the mercenaries, human mage. However, Hades did not reply to Yuri. Instead, he was continuously staring at Princess Mina's star core necklace. Hades was the leader of the Righteous Alliance of the mercenary group. He was at level 30. Yuri tried to call Hades once more, but Hades remained unresponsive. So Yuri told Hades not to space out again. Yuri mentioned that ever since Hades had gotten the necklace, he had been staring at it in a daze. Yuri then asked Hades what the story behind the necklace was. Hades responded that he could hear them. He questioned what they were arguing about. However, Hades said he had been guarding the jungle for so many days to prevent any accidents, particularly to ensure that Princess Mina did not escape from the walking cave. Hades added that he was beginning to regret not having killed them directly from the start. Marshall told Hades that Hades was being too cautious. He added that Princess Mina and her team could not survive in the walking cave with their abilities. Kara agreed with Marshall. Kara was sure that Princess Mina and her team had definitely become the excrement of the Beastman tribe. Yuri remarked that this was because Princess Mina had rejected Hades' kindness, and she attempted to restore her country with a short-sighted vision. In a flashback, the mercenaries had captured Princess Mina and her team. Princess Mina asked Hades how the Righteous Alliance could be so evil. She was betrayed for having trusted them. Hades replied that for them, justice and evil were not contradictory. It depended on the level of reward they received. Their judgment criteria were very flexible. As for betrayal, Hades insisted it wasn't betrayal but rather a form of assistance. Hades added that, by helping her restore her country, it would take much less effort over many years. All Hades required in return was Princess Mina's legendary necklace, and for her to become his woman. Princess Mina told Hades that if she fell into his hands, he could do whatever he wanted with her. But she would never give up the necklace, even if it meant her death. Hades responded by saying she was truly stubborn. Since Princess Mina didn't value her own life, Hades questioned what she thought of her subordinates. Although they were merely a bunch of useless trash, their loyalty was commendable. However, Hades threatened to kill Mina's team members. He asked if Princess Mina could bear to watch them die right in front of her. Princess Mina had no other choice but to give her star core necklace to Hades. At present, Hades remarked that stupid people did not deserve to live, let alone an incompetent princess whose abilities did not match her ambitions. However, Hades instructed his group to stay for another night. Then, in the morning, they were to visit the nearby Anka village. Marshall asked Hades if they were finally leaving that cursed place. He remarked that it was definitely time to replenish their ranks with some fresh blood. Marshall was tired of all the women in their group. He mentioned that they had eaten enough. It was time to stretch their muscles. Marshall had forcibly held a girl. He put her over his shoulder and carried her into a tent. The girl was screaming for him to let her go. Yuri commented that Marshall couldn't seem to sit still for even a moment. If Marshall wasn't eating or sleeping, he was either fighting or fooling around with women. He also mentioned Marshall's seemingly boundless energy. Yuri then asked Hades what he planned to do with the necklace, noting that it must be worth a fortune. Yuri suggested selling it in the nearest country. All 8 countries wanted Princess Mina, most likely for the necklace. Yuri then said that if they handled it well, they would have food and shelter for life, but if they mishandled it, it would bring them trouble. Hades told Yuri that he was right. Hades then killed a creature in front of him and threw it away with the knife. Hades then told Yuri that, by chance, they had come into great fortune from a simple escort mission. Harris added that they must maximize their gains. He thought of selling the item to a country, but the closest one, the Ilena Duchy, was full of poor artists, from the queen to the nobles. He believed it would be more profitable to sell it to the Hades earldom, which had more wealth. Yuri said he heard that Hades and Wimbak were at war over the border. So he asked Hades if it was the right time to sell the necklace to the Hades. Hades earldom, symbolized by a lion crest, rich in mountains and mineral resources, excellent blacksmiths, and a powerful army. Ilena Duchy, symbolized by a rose crest, with abundant farmland and flower gardens, as well as excellent painters and writers. Wimbak earldom, symbolized by a bear paw and axe crest, with dense forests and hunting grounds, as well as excellent hunters and carpenters. Hades then explained that the necklace had a significant influence. Hades added that the essence of war was power, and even in a chaotic world, this remained unchanged. The gem, said to have been inherited by a royal orphan, had the potential to change the world. According to Hades, its value surpassed the combined benefits of all wars by tenfold. Yuri asked why they didn't keep the necklace. They could use its power to create their own country and have fun. Hades responded that he had considered this, but after studying it for a few days, he found it to be just an ordinary gem. He felt no special power from it. Hades then advised that if one wanted to live a long life, it was best not to covet power that one could not control. Hades pointed out that they were not like those fanatics of the suffering cult, who used their own flesh and blood in exchange for power. In their limited lives, it was better to make some money and live happily more than anything else. Yuri agreed with Hades. Then he asked Hades how he knew so many secrets. Hades replied that this was something Yuri did not need to know. He instructed Yuri to tell the mercenaries to prepare for a big move in Anka village tomorrow. The scene shifted to 2 members of the mercenary group lying dead. Bai, Princess Mina, and her team had reached the burnt jungle. There, Bai had killed those 2 mercenaries before they could alert the other mercenaries about their presence. House remarked that he couldn't believe the mercenaries were still in the burnt forest. They were extremely cautious too. House noted that if it hadn't been for Bai's early assassinations, the entire camp would have been alerted. Princess Mina then asked how to retrieve the necklace. They were outmatched in levels and numbers. House admitted he would love to charge into their camp and snatch the necklace, but it would be suicidal in such a dire situation. Daegu suggested that he could distract most of the mercenaries, so House could took the opportunity to attack the leader. Gray asked Daegu how he planned to distract them. He added whether Daegu intended to make cute faces. Gray then proposed that it might be better to wait until late at night and silently sneak in to steal it. Bai explained to them that they didn't have time to wait until nightfall, as there were only 3 hours left. He noted that once the patrol discovered the dead bodies, the entire camp would be on high alert. Bai mentioned that the mercenary leader is extremely cautious. Princess Mina commented that Bai was indeed quite difficult to deal with. She noted that not only was Bai skilled in acting, but his mind was exceptionally sharp. However, she said that it seemed that they would have to temporarily give up and look for another opportunity. But Bai suggested that there was still a chance they could win. House was surprised and asked Bai if he had another plan. He urged Bai to share it. Gray also asked what was going on in Bai's head. Bai then explained to everyone that their biggest disadvantage was their number. But Bai happened to have a way to make up for the difference in quantity. He revealed that deep in the jungle there was a nest of red fire spiders. Although these spiders were only around levels 10 to 20, but their numbers were astonishing. Bai's plan was as follows. First, they were to go to the monster's nest. While ensuring their own safety, they would try to lure out as many monsters as possible. Then they would lure them to the mercenaries' location and transfer the monster's aggro onto the mercenaries. But no matter how many common monsters there were, it was difficult to reduce their numbers. After all, their levels were not that low. Of course. So the role of the common monsters was just to create chaos unexpectedly. And the key to the success of the plan depends on whether Bai could lure the Red Fire Spider's boss to the mercenaries' camp. The Red Fire Widow was a level 30 area boss. Gray was stunned to hear that Bai intended to lure the boss alone.